Social media is full of organizing tips, color-coded bins, elaborate systems, and perfectly labeled pantries. But if you ever have tried those and thought, why doesn't this work for me? You are not alone. I feel your pain. And the truth is, what we've learned is that organizing isn't a one-size-fits-all, and that there are systems that might work better for you depending on your personality, your habits, and even the way your brain works.
And that's why this month we created a What's Your Organizational Style quiz. It's a quick, fun way to discover the type of system that actually fits your life, not someone else's Pinterest board. You can get the quiz free when you sign up for our newsletter at chasingbrighter.com/newsletter.
Welcome back to Chasing Brighter, the podcast created as a guide to living brighter, more connected, and real. And this season, we are choosing real over perfect.
Last week, we talked about what we've outgrown. And today, we're talking about something that might feel like relief, organizing your life around energy instead of expectations. Expectation-based living sounds like I should wake up early. I should be more disciplined. I should handle more. I should be better at this by now.
It's building your life around what looks impressive instead of what really feels sustainable.
Yeah, and then we wonder why we're burnt out. Because
Yeah.
when we build our lives around expectations instead of energy, burnout isn't surprising, it's inevitable.
Absolutely.
One thing that's really helpful to notice is that we actually have different kinds of energy. We have physical energy, emotional energy, social energy, and creative energy. And the key is that they don't all necessarily peak at the same time.
Yeah. So an example is, I'm socially energized in small groups, but if it's a big group, especially a lot of people I don't know, for too long, I am completely drained.
Yeah. And I noticed that my physical energy is strongest in the morning. And that is why I always like to work out in the morning, because by late afternoon, my physical energy is totally tapped out.
It's really interesting to think about like energy awareness because it helps to explain why there are parts of the day that might feel easy and there are other parts that might feel like a struggle.
Absolutely. And I think it's important that we, instead of asking ourselves, like, why am I so tired? It can really be more helpful to ask ourselves, what kind of energy is running low right now?
I love that. And, sometimes I think about just those, remember the early days of having young kids
Mm-hmm.
and how you just were like trying to get to the bedtime or something, like you were trying to
Yes.
get through your day and it was
Or
such a
nap time.
grind.
Or, yeah.
Yes. And like now that we're older and wiser, obviously, thinking about tapping into energy is very different. It looks different now. But
Yeah.
also, it's just like different phases of life you're in, or maybe there's certain things that you're going through, or even the days of the week. And so I really love this conversation because it's really all about sort of like thinking about energy. Like, what is my energy level right now, or what kind of energy do I need?
And I think it's constantly shifting. Like what I've noticed is, so I've always said after we did, I don't think it was like a multi-part series on sleep in season 1 or season 2, but like about being a morning lark versus a night owl. And I recognize I'm a morning lark and I get so much done in the morning. And after 3 p.m., I'm like dead. But what I've noticed recently, and it could be, who knows what it is? Is it my health journey? Is it my supplements? Is it that I'm taking hormones? Who knows what's happening? But my energy levels are so much higher now. And so that's why I think it's important that we're flexible and pivot too. You know what I mean? So like the other day, it's my social battery. I know we're going to get into like our little test that we did, but my social battery is usually done just because of the line of work that I do. And so when I take Giovanni to his practice, I sit in my car or I go run errands or I do something else. And the other day, I still had so much left in my social and physical energy levels in the tank that I texted my friend. I was like, bring your sneakers and let's go for a walk. And so even though I had worked out in the morning, it was just so beautiful. And I wanted to interact with all the other moms who I do love. It's just like that's my only quiet time. And so also just being able to pivot. And so then I was social and I went for a walk and really kind of tapping into yourself on what like we said, like what is it that I need? Like what tank is empty, what tank is full, like what is your body asking for?
Yeah. And, just hearing what you said, the other thing I feel like saying is that if you get to a point every single day that you're hitting a wall at a certain time, especially if it's late afternoon, A, it's pretty normal, but B, there are a lot of ways that you can work on that. And I think a lot of particularly women, when you go see your doctor, I think these are things that you need to let them know. Fatigue is a real thing, and
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
are like health issues and things that you want to be aware of too. So as we talk about this, I think that's part of this layering on too is sometimes we
Mhm.
think about energy, we think about high energy, low energy, and we're kind of not talking about that. We're kind of slicing and dicing a little bit differently. But if you do find that a certain period of the day, every single day you have low energy, I would talk to you know, your doctor about that to see if maybe there's something else they need to look into. There could be a
Yeah,
nutrient deficiency or
deficiency,
some other
absolutely.
things.
Yeah, like vitamin D deficiency can really mimic depression. Our hormones, like where are you in your cycle? Certain times of our cycle,
Mm-hmm.
we have lower energy. And so I think what we're always talking to you listeners about is just tapping into you and tailoring
Mm-hmm.
things to what works for you. And so this might be a week to week thing, right? It might be day to day, month to month, like what's happening in your life. Because I know if you're having a week like this week where Giovanni's practiced 3 days this week, he's home at like 9:30, whatever it is, like that's going to look very different than when you're home at 5 p.m. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think just being able to kind of pivot too.
Yeah, like if you were out with your friends and out late, it's going to be different than having a restful night's sleep. So there are definitely things that are going to fluctuate. And so that's kind of why we want to talk about this tool, right? Is just kind of like
Mhm.
this idea of being aware of what that energy is that you are lacking at that moment.
Yeah. So, what we'd love for you to do is to try this for 5 days. So, Kelly and I did this, but basically rate your energy from 1 to 10, 3 times a day. Notice patterns, stop judging them. And like we talked about, physical, emotional, social, and creative. And you can label that differently if you want to, whatever, but kind of just looking at not just energy, period, but noticing that there are different types of energy levels.
Yes. And, you can kind of flip the script a little bit on this too, where, you might say something like, I'm lazy at night or I'm lazy in the morning after when I have a cup of coffee. But really, it really becomes more of like maybe at night your nervous system is done. And so this
Mhm.
is about really that self talk. And, one of the things about this tool about like what your energy is throughout the day, one of the things that I also noticed is that when like just gimmies, right? Like if I have high energy, I feel like that means I want to physically do something. If I have low energy, I feel like I'm guilty for not physically doing something. If I have a low energy moment, I need to start thinking more about like, what are my high energy activities and what are my low energy activities and how to maybe structure my day differently. If I'm using the times where I feel like I normally have high energy, but I'm doing low energy things, right? Like maybe I'm like grocery shopping on my Instacart app. That's a low energy activity. So if I have a high energy moment, why am I wasting my time on that? So that's kind of one of the things that I thought about just when I went through this.
Yeah. And I think I used to kind of think of energy like mental energy and physical energy.
Mhm.
And what I had been doing this year, because I'm really working really hard to not be scrolling a lot. And so doing other things like
Mhm.
reading or like we have the guest room on our first floor and it was my office, but I love my new office suites all the time. So I don't, I took my desk out and we made this king size. It's like a day bed that's made into a king size bed, and I left it like that. And we have a TV in there, and so that's been like a little cozy place that Justin and I have been kind of hiding out and watching TV and stuff.
Oh.
But because I've always like I'm a morning lark, so I'm done and I'm dead by this time of day. But now I've been noticing like, oh, I have so much more emotional and creative and physical energy in the evenings. And so I've done diamond painting. Our cousin Morgan, I don't know if you follow Morgan on social media.
Uh-huh, I
I
do.
love all her stuff. Well, it's our cousin's daughter, whatever that makes her to us.
That's true,
But
yes.
she was crocheting and she had this really cool thing that was holding her skein. And so now I want to be crocheting. And so that's inspiring. So I noticed that I've been having more creative energy in the evening. And so let's get into so let's get into what we noticed about ourselves. So what did you notice about your physical energy, Kelly? Like when do you feel like it peaks and ebbs and flows or whatever?
I would say so my physical energy really peaks like late morning, midday.
Mhm.
And it's really influenced by what I'm eating, when I'm eating it, and my sleep, obviously. And I feel like as the day goes on, I feel more fatigue and less motivated. And in the morning, I'm not very motivated. So I just kind of
Mhm.
like really sat with these things. The other thing I noticed is that sometimes, like, it was really nice one day this week, like in the 70s, where it's
Weather,
normally in the
yeah.
30s and 40s. And so, like, I've also noticed even when my energy feels low, sometimes I am letting myself be low energy and not do anything. But other times I'm like pushing myself. And sometimes I feel like energy feeds energy in this weird way. That's the other thing I notice about
Yeah.
myself.
So for me, when I say I have more physical energy in the morning, I guess what that means to me, because everyone, listeners, you know how important moving our bodies is to Kelly and I, that I need to move my body in the morning because it will, this is where I'm aligned and I listen to my body. If I say I'm going to do the workout later, I will not. I just won't. If I say I'll just work out at 4 and go, I will not do it by myself.
And that's knowing
And
yourself.
so,
And that's
yes.
a great point.
And so it is best for me to work out in the morning. It's interesting, like, I guess I don't know if I'd say my physical energy, it's not like I wake up and I'm like, "Yeah, let's just
Yeah.
go," but I
Jump out
have
of
this
bed.
system set up that it is better for all the other energies and for, for for, like, the emotional, social that I just knock out my workout first thing in the morning. So, I drop my youngest off at school and I go work out. So, I just noticed that, like, that is good, and I've been noticing an increase in energy in the evening, so I've been trying to add a walk, because then I
Oh, I
actually
love
do
that.
feel like I'm buzzing and I wanna get some movement in, and,
Yeah.
actually, also went I don't know if this is I think it's meeting my physical energy, but we have a spa/hot tub/jacuzzi. We were talking last night about what it's actually called. It literally is called a spa, but when you say spa, that sounds super bougie,
Yeah.
so I say hot tub, but anyway, I'm always like, "I'm gonna be a hot tub person," and then I don't, and, Gabriella, my eldest, is in softball season, and she pitches for high school, and they are, like, writing her for pitching because we don't have a lot of options, and so she has been so sore because we have, like, 3 games a week, and in softball, pitches aren't limited. She pitched, like,
Oh my
175 pitches one
gosh.
day, next day, 140 pitches,
Oh my
and like,
gosh.
her hips, her legs, she's so sore, and so we heated up the hot tub, and then she was like, "Come out with me, mom," and I'm like, "Okay," and we went out there, and we sat out there for an hour, and so that was so nice. So maybe, like, physical isn't necessarily movement, but maybe that's a massage or,
That's a
I
good
don't know.
point.
I don't like, a hot shower.
I did the other day take a big hot Epsom salt bath, which was and I made myself sit for 20 minutes.
Nice. Yes. So maybe that it's just like your body is needing something, and so, like, staying in tune, what is the physical telling me? It's not necessarily rest or move around. It could be restorative, you know?
Yes.
maybe some stretching. Emotionally, I think because of the nature of my job, you have to ask my kids. I think maybe, it kind of like vary day to day. I want to say I can last until about like 6, 7 p.m. is when my emotional energy then slash social. I don't want to like talk to anybody because it's emotionally draining. Because I'm not like seeing friends. It's going to be like a need from someone at that time.
This one is kind of just happening kind of weird around our household anyway, just because my husband's really dealing with aging parents, and that's very emotionally taxing for him because
Mm,
it's very challenging navigating having a parent who is physically declining and just navigating the
yeah.
challenges
With
of
the needs
that.
of your
And so,
family and his
yeah,
job and all the things. Yeah.
yeah. And so I'm finding myself, so like, that's an example where maybe there's some emotional exhaustion of those kind of that energy happening. And so I'm trying to really be more supportive and to really start channeling a lot of my emotion as caregiving. I even told my kids the other day, like, give dad all the kindness you have. Just like be super kind to him because he's having a really challenging moment in
Yeah.
what's going on. And I'm part of it too. I'm not trying to separate us from helping my in-laws. It's more like trying to figure out what is my role right now. And it's really
Yeah.
kind of helping support him too. So,
Yeah. So you have something, the season in life that you're in, right? Something that's emotionally taxing and emotionally
yes. Yeah.
draining, that's kind of a constant present or constantly present. And so noticing that as well, right? So that's just
Yeah.
there.
And I think it's about like having honest conversations. That emotional energy is really sort of like sharing feelings and having honest conversation, maybe even spending time alone, right? With like what is happening within you.
Yeah.
And one of the things, as you know, for me is sitting alone and working to process feelings I might be suppressing
Yeah.
because I tend to suppress and like neglect some of my emotional energy for sure. And as parents,
Yeah.
this is an area that we can tend to run very low on emotional energy
Hmm.
when we're disciplining or having to, you know, address some sort of a conflict or feelings of our kids.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm going to send you? And I think I promised this in another episode, but I'm still obsessing over internal family systems theory.
Okay.
And we have
Okay.
those protectors. And the manager's belief is if I stay in control, I won't have like uncomfortable feelings or I won't be hurt. And so your manager that's coming up for you, it's like, so I created this worksheet for my clients to like figure out what the managers are. And so it's like, who's driving your car when uncomfortable emotions come up? And that's so interesting to like
Okay.
identify, ooh, is that the avoider that's driving the car? Is that, so for me, it's almost always the overachiever is like, I'm just going to do everything. Get in the car. Everybody, like I joke when people say, Jesus, take the wheel. I'm like, get out of the car, Jesus, I've got this. So it's like when shit hits a fan, like who takes over, right? And
Yeah.
so it's interesting. So I'll send that to you for journaling. It's just interesting to me. I love
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Definitely send me that.
Yeah. I wanted to say too, one of my friends had a monumental birthday. And so a few of us went out to the high tea
Mm-hmm.
on the strip or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And so I think for me, so first of all, it's interesting, right? When you work with people, right? And you have a family, there's constant like social interactions, right? So you have that social energy.
Yeah.
But I think it's very different when you get to choose the interactions, it's very
Yes.
intentional. And so
Yes.
I think for me, and I don't get it enough, but I think for me, I don't think for me, I know for me, my social energy would love a once a week intentional encounter. And it's like, I look forward to recording our podcast. Like this to me, like you're my sister. I love you. I want to talk to you. So this is
Yeah.
intentional and meaningful and purposeful. And then it's like, okay, next week, it's like, I used to be so good at walking with Teresa or meeting her for tea. Or I have my one girlfriend that works out, but we've been kind of missing each other at the gym. So for me, my social energy, obviously I'm having social interactions all the time, but I'd love to have a once a week intentional, purposeful social interaction. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. I would love to have that. My neighbor reached out to me to try to grab coffee this week, and it's Wednesday, and I am like, how am I going to do that? And I'm going to reach out to her and figure out what we can
Yeah.
do to make it work, because I love having coffee with people.
Yeah.
That's one of my
But
favorite
it takes
things. But
a long time. Like when we did the high tea, it was like 4 weeks out. I just
oh,
feel like for me, it's like,
even
dude, we've got to get that in the book.
even for like
Yeah.
book club, I did this thing where you can do a poll in a text thread where you can basically, it's kind of cool. It sets out all the options, because
Mm.
I was drafting a text, and I was like, here are the choices that we have. And it was like, turn it into a poll. And I turned it into a poll, and then people choose which dates they could do,
Oh,
which is
that's
kind of cool.
cool.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so we chose a date everybody could make. And then, of course, something comes up with someone and they can't make it. And it was like, you know what? We did our best to try to make it so we
I
all
know.
could make
Yeah.
it.
It's like it
And
gets to
it's
a
so
point where,
hard. Yeah.
yeah, we just have
But
to.
I think that from my perspective, I do gain energy from people. And a lot of
Mhm.
times, even when I don't feel like when I do feel like my social energy it's hard for me to really intentionally invest in that. And
Yeah.
so that's one thing I've noticed for myself. And the other thing that we want to all be aware of is that you want to kind of understand that you don't want to stack too many people heavy commitments in a day. And so it's really like
Yeah.
even what you talked about, or even in a week, honestly, where it's sort of like,
Yeah.
think about your social energy and think
Yeah.
about where you might be overspending there as well.
Yeah. And I think, like we've talked before, one of the words I think that we've been wanting to say and haven't said this episode is depleting, right?
Yes,
Interactions that are
yes.
energizing versus depleting. And so I think that's fascinating. That the last thing I wanted to touch on was just creative energy. I've noticed I just am a creative person, and I think I feel creative all day. And whether that's like a recipe or planning or ordering, like it's crafts, whether it's a podcast, whether it's work, like whether you and I are looking at hairstyles or makeup or like, you know what I mean? Like I love being creative and thinking that way. And I think that
Yeah.
stays pretty steady for me.
Yeah, I think it's great to and thinking about, like, as we're talking about creative energy, this is something, it's not just like putting together a puzzle or doing a craft. Creative energy is about thinking deeply, solving
Hmm.
problems like you mentioned, imagining, generating
Yeah.
ideas.
Yes.
And so you
I
can
like to
think about
imagine.
things that can fuel you. What'd you say?
Yeah, I said I love imagining. I really do. I have a good one. We did an episode on that. What's that internal world? Is it internal world? Whatever. I have a very vivid internal.
And
Maybe I dissociate.
I think that that creative energy that we have, it can disappear really quickly too if we get
Yeah.
distracted, our schedule gets too packed, we're drained in many other ways throughout the day. And so, it comes across maybe is like, I can't think anymore. And so that is, like you said, Jesse, we're depleted. For me, I would say what's crazy is very much so lately. So we have decided to not order in as much, and I'm making food at home more, and I have a bajillion cookbooks, and we did the meal prep. Remember we talked about this meal prep thing, whatever.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
have been relying on ChatGPT for dinner prep. And so because I'll have an idea or I'll see a recipe, but maybe
Hmm.
something about it isn't what I want to do. Or I
Yeah.
have this in ChatGPT, I've loaded every single appliance and kitchen tool that
Did
I
you show
own.
people they open the fridge, they take a picture and they say, "What can I make with what's in the fridge?"
I love that. And so
Yeah.
I had a friend stay the night a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "Do you like to cook, Miss Fox?" And I was like, "No."
No one does, but we
I
have to
don't
stay
like to
alive.
cook. I don't
But I like staying alive.
I like eating. I said something like, "Well, not really, but I love eating good food, and I don't want to waste a meal on like a bad
Yeah.
meal." So like,
Yeah.
and I think, having this conversation and going through the exercise where I was like, actually meal prep, dinner prep is creative energy for me. And it's more,
Mhm.
I'm using chat to get creative. I love
Yeah.
where I'll say something like, I want to do this, but want to use, what are 3 ingredients? Jesse,
Yeah.
we found this most amazing recipe. It is using whole milk. I mean, sorry, not whole milk, heavy cream and melted chocolate chips. That's it. You
Mhm.
put it in the microwave, you melt the chocolate chips, you heat up the milk a little bit in there, you mix it together, throw it in the fridge. It creates a mousse that is to
Hmm.
die for. And I had the recipe. I texted Wes. I was like, you need to come in the kitchen and make dessert for tonight. And we don't normally even make dessert.
Mhm.
Um, but like the creative, like you can even hear it, my energy and
Yeah.
talking about it. Like that creativity of like
Yeah.
discovering things was really fun for me.
Mhm. No, that's awesome. And I think too, I feel so satisfied. Like we have been so busy and we're trying to have like I don't want to have more than one
Like one
meal a
family
week away
meal
from
kind of
home,
thing.
like ordering in once a week or going out once a week, whatever. And so I'm so proud of myself when we make the dinner, right? Because you feel so depleted and you're like, I don't want to do anything at all. And I know my husband felt the same way. And there was one meal I was so proud of myself. I didn't even eat it because I didn't have gluten-free tortillas, but I wanted to make smash tacos. Have you seen where people smash the ground beef all over a tortilla and then stick it on the grill and smash it and then
Yeah,
flip
yeah,
it
yeah. I
over
did
and
that
then
once.
fold it?
Uh-huh.
And I
I
was
tried it
just like,
once.
I had no energy and I didn't give a you know what. And I wasn't even hungry and that, I didn't even have, I couldn't even have it because I didn't have gluten-free tortillas. And I made it for everybody, and I was so proud of myself for getting that done for everybody. So I know that feeling too. But I think
Yeah.
like you were talking about, Kelly, with the self-talk, it's like instead of being hard on yourself, instead of saying, oh, like we ordered in, I suck, I need to be better planning at things. It's like maybe you need to set up a system that matches your wiring and setting up a system that matches those energy levels. So if
Yes.
you have energy in the morning with mental and physical, whatever, with the meal prep, crock pot it. Right? That way, at the end of the day, I'm depleted. It's not that you suck. It's not that you're terrible, but hey, that energy level is low and that's okay. Meet yourself where you're at.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This is about really kind of matching the task with the right
Yeah.
energy. And all of that will make sure that everything feels more sustainable for you.
Absolutely. And that's why we created this month's quiz.
We've got this quiz, and it's really about thinking about your organizational style. Because one of the things with energy, too, is you might think that you need to be doing something else and putting a lot of pressure on yourself, which depletes us. So we have our organizational personality type quiz where we recommend different ways of organization match with your personality type. Just because, maybe you've tried stuff and it never really stuck.
You can sign up for our Thrive Tribe newsletter at chasingbetter.com and take the quiz for free.
And listeners, next week we are getting super practical.
We're sharing simple systems that support real life, not Instagram life.
Because if it only works when you're motivated, it's not a real system.
And if you want to know what we're up to, see what we're buying, what we're wearing, follow us on our socials at Chasing Brighter. Thanks and have a great day.